You've been looking into an old murder.
This is a weird one. There have been books and films about innocent men wrongly sent to jail. And a few about guilty people who got away with it. But you don't often hear about a murder suspect being found guilty, then 13 years later being found innocent, then 4 years after that more information coming out that says no, we got it right the first time, he really did it. And that is the long twisted road to justice that is being trod by Scott Ostick.
Quite the tale.
Ostick was sent to prison for life in 2008 after a jury found him guilty of killing his pregnant on-again, off-again lover, Stacey Thorne. Stacey was stabbed 27 times in the bedroom of her home in Boddington in southwest WA.
27 times.
Somehow she had the strength to drag herself to the front of her flat where she died. Cops showed up, have a look at her phone, and they see a bunch of messages from Ostick, including one in which he pleads for her to have an abortion, which she didn't want.
So the police had motive.
They go and chat to Ostick and get very suspicious when he lies about what t-shirt he was wearing the night that Stacey died. And then the cops found 3 pieces of evidence that made this, in their minds, a slam dunk case. A packet of cigarettes on Ostick's back porch that was stained with Stacey's DNA, a blood-stained knife in a field between Scott and Stacey's houses, and a can of bourbon and coke with Scott's DNA on it that was 20 metres from Stacey's home. Now that can was especially damning because it was stamped with a serial number that matched a 6-pack in the fridge at Ostick's house, and that 6-pack had been purchased that night.
So it put him at the scene of the crime.
At the time of the crime. The jury thought it was a no-brainer. His appeal went nowhere, and that, everyone thought, was that for Scott Ostick.
But it wasn't the end of this story.
Just the beginning, in fact, thanks to this guy. Clint Hampson is a lawyer, also a former police forensics officer. Whip sharp. If you're ever in trouble, you want this guy representing you. Clint had bumped into Scott's mother, Robin, at a function, and after she explained why she thought her boy was innocent, Clint agreed to review the case. Started looking at the files, and something quickly grabbed his attention. Have a look at this photo. And now, have a look at this one.
The cigarettes aren't there in the first one.
No, that first picture was taken by forensics officers who did a sweep of Ostick's house in December 2007, shortly after Stacey was found dead. The second picture, which was shown to the jury in Ostick's trial, was taken a day after forensics did their work.
So where did it come from?
That's one of the questions Clint Hampson asked himself. The disappearing, reappearing Winnie Blues wasn't the only odd thing. Have a look at this picture. That's the bourbon and coke can with Scott's DNA on it lying on the street outside Stacey's home. And this is the same scene pictured earlier by forensics officers.
No can in that one.
No.
If the jury had been told that the Jim Beam can wasn't there the day before, a natural reaction was being, well, are they trying to put one over us?
That's leading legal mind Malcolm McCuska's reaction to that bit of news during the 2019 Channel 7 documentary Framed.
The more we dug, the more we found.
McCusker, who knows a case of dodgy police work when he sees it, he was responsible for freeing Andrew Mallard, knew something wasn't right, and his hackles were further raised when questions were asked about the murder weapon, that blood-stained knife found in a field near Ostick's house.
I led a team through there. Right. And then we find out the next day that they found a knife exactly where we searched, so we failed.
That's one of the SES volunteers who searched that field, talking to the ABC Australian Story documentary Trials and Tribulations. He says they searched the field and found nothing. Yet Detective John Hendrickson stumbled upon it as he walked the scene some time later.
Convenient.
That's what Hampson and McCusker thought. It looked like Ostick had been framed.
Did you kill Stacey Thorne?
No, I did not kill her.
In April 2018, WA Attorney General John Quigley used his reserve powers to grant Scott Ostick a fresh appeal. The Court of Appeal ruled there was enough of a whiff about the conviction to warrant a new trial. And in mid-2020, the Supreme Court ruled that he probably didn't kill Stacey.
Well, that's great news for him, but not for Stacey's family.
No, all of a sudden, nobody is responsible for Stacey's death. Cops didn't know what to do. The guy they thought did it was exonerated, so what now? You can't just make up a new person of interest. So the case was going nowhere. until last week. That's Liberal MP Peter Collier tabling a previously secret report into the Thorne murder and 4 associated trials. That investigation was compiled by former cop turned private investigator Robin Cotman at the behest of the Thorne family, and it pulled apart the case. Again. Found that far from being planted on Scott Ostick's backyard, that packet of cigs with the stain on it was likely there all along. It had been missed by the original forensics team, but seen by one of the detectives who examined it and then asked for a fresh picture to be taken in a visible location. The knife that was so conveniently discovered by police was actually in a part of a field near Ostick's house that wasn't searched by the SES. And that picture of an empty street outside Stacey's home, when forensically enhanced, shows the can of bourbon and coke that put Ostick at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime was there the whole time.
So the new report says